Lisa Broom with the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, it's taken 11 days, but the way is now clear for government to fire the central bank governor. Dr. Delal Worrell lost his bid to stay on at the helm of the institution after a ruling today by the appeal court. Ryan Broom joins us now live with the latest.
Yes, Lisa. Well, when the Court of Appeal convened, Attorney Gregory Nichols did his best to convince Acting Chief Justice Sandra Mason, Justice of Appeal Kay Goodridge, and Justice Andrew Burgess why the injunction should remain. It's the third time in just over a week the matter has come into question, with the injunction being lifted as recently as Friday and being reinstated almost immediately. Today, Mr. Nichols argued on the grounds that Mr. Justice Randall Worrell didn't take into account the matter was one of public interest or that it would cause injury to Dr. Worrell, as well as the issue of the credibility of the central bank and its international image. He also argued that Finance Minister Chris Sinclair's threat to fire Dr. Worrell was a breach of due process. In the afternoon, Solicitor General Jennifer Edwards responded that Dr. Worrell's contract of employment gave Mr. Sinclair the right to terminate his employment. Furthermore, she said the potential damage to the economy was more significant than the damage to Dr. Worrell's reputation if he was removed. The justices deliberated for about 15 minutes and emerged with a decision that the injunction would no longer stand, and Attorney Nichols reacted with immense disappointment.
We can only guesstimate what is the basis of the court's decision today, and I have to really sit down and confer with my co-counsel and my client, so there's nothing much really can say today. We are disappointed. We thought that we had a fairly solid case, and before I can comment, I need to see what the court's decision is.
And Lisa, furthermore, he pleaded with the court to reinstate the injunction as he intended to take it to the Caribbean Court of Justice for a final appeal. But there will be no more injunctions, leaving the fate of Dr. Worrell solely in the hands of the Finance Minister. While Dr. Worrell is expected to go forward with his CCJ appeal, the minister's next move is unclear. Lisa?
Thank you very much, Ryan. And we'll have some more on those developments a little bit later in the news with economist Jeremy Stephen. With aggregate losses from tropical storms ranging from $500 million to in excess of $16 billion a year, local and regional weather officials are on a mission to ensure the Caribbean is climate ready. Earlier today, officials met at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology to flesh out the details for a climate-ready plan.
The Climate Ready Nation program is sponsored by the United States Agency for International Development and the Office of Foreign Disaster Assistance. Head of the Barbados Met Office, Hampton Lovell, is pleased with the initiative and outlined some of the benefits.
Improvement in the nation's readiness, responsiveness, and overall resilience to severe weather will definitely always be welcome. Of particular importance is the focus on community engagement, as situations such as these bring out the best humanitarian efforts in people. This will definitely be a valuable addition to all that is being done and will improve Barbados' ability to better help people to lessen the impact on themselves and possessions.
Principal of the Caribbean Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology, Dr. David Farrell, says efforts to make Caribbean countries climate ready have been ongoing for some time. Apart from its social impact, he says the plan will also protect economies.
One of the things that we need to be a lot more cognizant of is the Standard & Poor's statement referencing Jamaica in 2012 that talks about the downgrading of an economy based on exposure to weather and climate events. And this is significant because this is not just a statement about Jamaica. This is a statement about every Caribbean country that is exposed to tropical storms. That you can be downgraded based on your, again, weather and climate readiness.
The move is set to bring Barbados and other territories in line with international developments in weather.
What we're trying to do here is really an amalgamation of those four parts of that chair, let's say. The development of matrices and development of partnerships among agencies in terms of response, and the development eventually of improved communication at many levels of government, and ultimately the retraining and new policies needed for a different kind of workforce challenge in the future.
The project is set to run for 2 years. Sean Farrell, CBC News.
A 17-year-old is nursing gunshot injuries after an altercation with a group of men in the nursery terminal, John Beckles Drive in the city. The young man has been identified as Dodson McDonald Powell of 6th Avenue, New Orleans, Bridgetown. Police say the teenager was shot in the thigh. He was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital by private motor car, where he is receiving medical attention. Barbados is reporting an increase in fires for 2017 compared with the same period last year. The Barbados Fire Service has to date responded to 246 compared with 210 incidents for the same period last year. However, statistics obtained by CBC News revealed that residential fires have decreased. So far for the year, fire crews have responded to 11 private dwelling fires compared with 15 for the same period last year. Fire crews have been kept busy, mainly with grass and rubbish fires. The officers have also had their hands full with motor vehicle accidents. They responded to 17 this year compared with 14 for the same period last year. Food and agricultural producers in Barbados and the region are now closer to entering international markets. This as a result of the European Union-funded sanitary and phytosanitary project. The program will help regional stakeholders comply with international agricultural, health and food safety standards. And the final conference and symposium for the project is underway in Barbados. Representative for the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, or ICA, Dr. Ina Harvey, says so far over 2,000 people in the public and private sector have been trained in ISO and HACCP certification. She also disclosed that a comprehensive legislative framework is now being reviewed at the CARICOM level, and they will be taking a cross-sectional approach to implementing safety measures.
We need to also take forward the national and regional coordination recommendations and look at mechanisms for how we can more effectively and in very practical ways and in a multi-sectoral way look at addressing priorities that relate to our national agricultural health and food safety systems. How do our ministries of agriculture, health, environment, trade interact to give us almost a single window for certification, for allowing us to do the risk assessment and the impact assessments on the food that is traded.
If you want to hear more from your ministers and MPs, you'll get a chance to do so shortly. We'll explain when the evening news returns.
Don't let your data experience slow you down. Step up to Digicel, Barbados' fastest 4G network, more than twice as fast as the slow network. Get more with Digicel. Digicel, the fastest 4G network in Barbados. Dial *153 to sign up to Digicel today.
Need affordable motor insurance? Get up to 30% off plus additional discounts for new and used vehicles. Call 436-6200 or log on to beacon.co.tt. Where you need us, when you need us.
Love is in the air, and love is always there. Book from now until February 28th for 35% off all your travel from now until March 28th as we celebrate the Love Month. Do something fun. Book that weekend getaway for two, or take in some of those carnival festivities in Dominica or Trinidad. Don't forget to use promo code AMOR for this fantastic deal. Call our reservations department, your local travel agent, or visit us at liat.com to book now.
CBC Presents is back. Look out for us each and every Friday at 9 p.m. Get a chance to discuss health, and we will explain and bring clarity to many of your concerns and legal issues. Join us via the email talk@cbc.bb or call live at 228-5562 or 63.
The Democratic Labour Party is rolling out a campaign simply called Facts. This was revealed to members of the media during a press conference at DLP headquarters this morning by General Secretary George Pilgrim.
The intention is simple. We want to expose all Barbadians to the mistruths propagated by the indifferent opposition. This is crucial as Barbados stands to be rebranded by an online campaign aimed at creating fear among Barbadians.
Mr. Pilgrim has also announced plans to hold a mid-year conference under the same name, which he says will give party supporters a chance to question the DLP's ministers. He points out that it will differ from the party's annual conference due in August, but says the party deems it relevant as it observes 9 years in office.
The conference will be streamed live in all of our platforms so that our overseas branches can also tune into the conference called Facts as speakers roll out their experience. The conference will be open to the press in the first session as we seek to have coverage while crucial explanations about the success of our various sectors will be delivered. In the evening, we will be closed to the public as we seek to have our members from the length and breadth of Barbados pose questions to our ministers.
Minister of Culture Stephen Lashley is confident some of Barbados's economic challenges can be addressed through the development of the cultural industries sector. Minister Lashley feels it's an area Barbados must focus on more in the future.
The government of Barbados has identified the services sector as a key priority on its national developmental agenda. And this, of course, has given rise to a number of important developments. It certainly has given rise to an economic program where much emphasis has been placed on the development of the cultural industries. And in this regard, some very important efforts have been made in creating the very critical enabling environment that is important in terms of developing this key emerging sector.
So we start with
Mr. Lashley made the comments at the launch of the website for the Cultural Industries Development Authority. He told those gathered the promotion of the island as a prime location for films is a major thrust as the country develops its own film industry.
And if you peruse the Cultural Industries Development Act, you will find that there is a huge section in that legislation providing the incentives for the development of the film sector. And based on the advice of the persons involved in the sector, we have so structured those incentives that we build out first and foremost the local film sector. And if, for example, an international filmmaker wants to take advantage of these incentives, they first of all have to either operate through a local filmmaker or in fact set up a local company.
Director of the Cultural Industries Development Authority, Andrea King, says the entity has made great strides despite its small staff and budget.
This is really for us another important milestone, and I have to thank you for sharing it with us. It is really, I like to say that the Film Commission's website is our business card, and the Film Commissioner will, when she gives her vote of thanks, give you a little information about her attending the Association of International Film Commissioners Locations and Finance Show in Hollywood, and she will tell you how critical it is a move for Barbados to have this website. So in welcoming you, I want you to always be supportive, continue to be supportive. If you see anything on the website that you think needs amending or can be enhanced, feel free to contact the Film Commissioner or any of the CEDA members.
Many of the problems in the workplace do not start there, and companies would benefit if they had professionals on hand to help people who bring their personal problems to work. The suggestion from Reverend Hainsley Griffith, founder and chief executive officer of Family Heartbeat International. Reverend Griffith was one of the panelists on a discussion about safeguarding the health and wealth of the nation. It's part of the Barbados Association of Office Professionals annual conference.
A lot of the issues have nothing first to do with the workplace, but it has to do with what people bring into the work environment out of their own personal issues, their stresses at home or distresses as the case may be, their lack of interpersonal relationship and the spreads within the workplace as well, the resolution of conflict and so on. What we are able to do, we are able to pick up some of those challenges, some of which are health issues as well, and we're able to refer those individuals to the appropriate, healthcare professionals, so that they can receive certain help.
The Reverend says this will obviously have an impact on productivity.
What research has shown is that the productivity level rises when you are able to help individuals to resolve those personal issues. So you're looking at it from a holistic perspective and not just specifically from a work perspective. So I challenge employers to have a program that you can have an individual, a counselor, a critical incident stress manager who can actually work with your employees and help them minimize, if not eliminate, quite a number of challenges that they may experience within the workplace.
Earlier, at the opening of that conference, Barbados' education system came under fire from a leading business executive. Managing Director of FedNav International Limited, Barbados, Chris DeCary, says the current system is antiquated and marginalizes the less fortunate in society.
As Errol Barrow was saying, we need to have an education system that can stand up to the rest of the world. And I don't think what we currently have meets that expectation. We have people leaving at the primary and secondary level schools, 50% of them not making the grade. So we are cutting our ability in half by not educating through the poor system that we have, half of our population. And it'd be fair to say that that half of the population would not be the wealthy half.
Mr. DeCary was the guest speaker at the 20th annual conference of the Barbados Association of Office Professionals, held under the theme Holistic Professionals in Igniting Positive Change. He called for greater accountability among senior managers and leaders in the public and private sector.
What we have in many of our interactions at a senior level is this lack of accountability, where we all have mission statements and vision statements that fall into this category that are so wide we cannot hold somebody accountable. Until we measure and hold people to that measurement, we won't move forward.
Fewer students are opting to do history at the University of the West Indies. This is according to UWI lecturer and historian Dr. Rodney Worrell. He's encouraging students as well as the Ministry of Education to acknowledge the value of the subject. Dr. Worrell spoke on the sidelines of today's African Awareness Month activities at the UWI, where African art and entertainment was on show for students, staff and guests. He says although well attended, the turnout from the UWI students could have been better. The lecturer, who specializes in Pan-Africanism, says history courses have taken a backseat to disciplines like economics and psychology.
I would say that they're not very popular. There seems to be some attempt to kill history, and it starts from the time they introduced the social studies inside the secondary schools. This have had a serious impact on history. And when we met the history teachers some years ago, we recognized that in some schools in Barbados, history is not even taught. And we believe that if we are serious about reparations and we are seeking to repair the damage, that history must be taught in all schools from primary right up to secondary.
The Departments of History and Philosophy and Government Sociology and Social Work are also hosting a public Cuban colloquium and a history forum on the campus this Friday. Dr. Worrell reminded students learning more about their history is beneficial not just to them, but the wider society.
The reason why we have to teach courses about Africa and how we have to teach courses about Latin America as well, so they can have a better perspective, because people who look through the lens of a North American or of Europe sees the world through a different lens to a people that face enslavement and the people that are seeking to wrestle with their own development.
Hundreds of primary school girls recently took part in annual World Thinking Day activities at Harrison College. This year, it was held under the theme Grow and attracted brownies and guides from schools across the island. Ryan Broom has more.
The Harrison College grounds were abuzz with activity on the day as the girls look forward to the day ahead. Reverend John Rogers was on hand to give the girls some sound advice.
I was quite overwhelmed to see the number of little girls here today, and I think this augurs well for the organization. Of course, they're using Grow to make a point that they're trying to grow the organization as well. And I try to impress upon the young ones that they are the ambassadors of the organizations. When persons see their development and their growth through the organization, I'm sure other parents will want to have their little girls be a part of this as well.
And Chief Commissioner of the Girl Guides Association of Barbados, Nadia Skeet, talked about the significance of the World Thinking Day celebration.
World Thinking Day really happens on February 22nd, but obviously that's a school day, so it's a day where all Girl Guides and all Brownies, all Blossoms, all Rangers, everybody in the association, we get together and we celebrate the birthdays of our founders. It's time we reflect on what's happening in guiding, what's happening internationally, and we think of our sisters who are in 145 other countries all over the world.
She says participation in World Thinking Day has remained consistent over the years.
It really shows that the girls think that it's important to get together because girls generally don't get to see one another. You would know the girls from your unit or from your district or your school. However, meeting girls from all over Barbados who are Brownies or Blossoms is really a good thing for them to do, and it builds friendships and increases our sisterhood.
As for the Brownies and Guides movement overall, she says they still continue to attract the interest of girls seeking to better themselves.
We always have people coming to join, especially the Brownies and the Blossoms. There are smaller sections. Where we struggle is in the teenage years and the Guides and the Rangers. You know, they have all the distractions in the world, all the technology, but there's still some committed few, and then they bring their friends along who realize that it's really not just about the knitting and sewing, it's so much more. Body confidence, learning how to surf smart. It's a whole set of different things we have in our program, and it's just for the girls to actually come and see. And then they stay.
And just what do the girls have to say about the experience?
Excitement. A lot. Work for badges. And learn and be educated. Learn to be nice. Learn to be nice. And be helpful. Make new friends. I'm looking forward to excitement and meeting new Brownies. To get new badges and meet new friends. To get new badges and meet new friends.
Well, we certainly wish them all the very best as they continue to strive for excellence. Ryan Broom, CBC News.
Well, it's said that all that's needed to change the world is a group of thoughtful, committed citizens. And perhaps it's this train of thought that has led to a citizens' campaign for a cleaner Barbados.
Lee Sorensen, who's lived here for over 35 years, grew tired of passing streets of litter as he went for his daily morning walk.
I started picking up litter, and then I went from that to doing my spike stick to make it easier to do that. And then it went from there to talking to some other people about doing a group called the Guardians.
The Guardians is their Facebook page, and they also organize flash mobs where they surprise large gatherings by swooping in and picking up all the trash they've dropped around them. However, on normal days, it's an individual effort, but one he says is making a difference.
When people see you picking up their neighborhood and they say, this guy cares about our neighborhood, maybe we should too, you know. And I see a difference. I see places I walk and pick up litter every morning that are really quite clean, astoundingly clean. Not only that, but then somebody's taken a weed whacker and trimmed the long grass too.
Mr. Sorensen hopes he and the Guardians can inspire more positive changes.
Somebody stopped me one day, rolled down his window in his car, and he said, if everybody did what you're doing, we'd have a pretty clean island. I said, yes, bingo. So if everybody just took a couple blocks around them, even their own block, and just made sure that was picked up. Because once it's picked up once, now there's only, like this morning, 1 or 2 things around and you're done.
A t-shirt and a spike are available for anyone joining the Guardians. And you can also find them at barbadosguardians.com. Denise Blackman, CBC News.
Coming up in the evening news, a story to literally whet the appetites of Dominicans. We'll explain in just a moment.